for me, I mean, the shift globally from feed-in tariffs to auctions has been a tremendously positive thing, because it's probably been the decisive factor in helping the industry to bring down levelized cost of energy in a really systematic way. Obviously, behind the scenes, is all the work the industry's done in terms of making that happen, and bringing in new technology, squeezing out costs, trying to do things in a more efficient way. But certainly, auctions has been a catalyst for that, and it's led us to a situation where we're now pretty cheaper in most markets around the world than new build fossil, and cheaper in many places in the world than incumbent fossil. And we're going to increasingly see over the next kind of 5-10 years that we're cheaper than already existing built coal and gas plant, and that's already happening in some places. So that's a tremendously positive thing, and I've seen over the last 10 years that we can now sit in front of policymakers and journalists and say, well, look, here are the numbers. We're cheaper than gas, we're cheaper than coal. And for the wind industry, I think it's absolutely decisive. I think we needed to get to that point. So generally, I think the move to auctions has been a great thing. It's not a kind of one-size-fits-all solution. It hasn't been applied necessarily always in the best way everywhere. But I think generally it's a good thing. The challenge now, is keep bringing the LCOE down, but also I think for governments and markets to kind of be realistic and realise that I think this year I'm going to go around saying that wind is cheap, but it's not free, and market design needs to be carried out in a way so that we avoid things like cannibalising prices at certain parts of the day, so that the price becomes nothing, or that project economics don't work. So it's definitely, I think, auctioning and the decline in LCOE also needs to kind of find its level where the wind industry can produce and keep growing and make the kind of developments in industrial capacity it needs to do to keep growing. The Taskforce is aimed basically at globalising offshore wind, and that's not as simple as it sounds. Taking all the kind of learnings of the industry and also applying those learnings in a way that's appropriate to different countries and different markets, and also, frankly, learning from all the technological development of the last 10 years and not just doing what we did 10 years ago, but taking the latest technology and the latest insights, is something that's going to require a lot of kind of dialogue and communication, between the industry and between governments and between the industry. So the task force, what it does is it's bringing together some of the leading players in the industry, and really trying to take a program approach to developing offshore wind. So what is it that countries, governments need to do? What are the kind of skills and capacities and infrastructure they need to have in place? To some extent, it reproduces what was done in the UK through the Offshore Wind Programme Board, which is obviously the UK is the most successful offshore market in the world. So it's looking at the kind of ability and the readiness of markets to take on offshore wind and grow their industries in a big way, and looking at what needs to be done in a systematic way in order for that to happen. The Global Wind Energy Council for the last 10 years has been mainly focused on onshore wind, for the simple reason that offshore really took off in the European markets. But we always knew it was something that had huge potential around the world, and I think that it's now about to take off as a technology of choice outside of Europe. We've seen developments for a long time in both in Asia and in North America, and those are now kind of coming to fruition, and governments are increasingly realising the potential of the technology.